Just back from Capitol Hill is newly sworn in U.S. Senator Brian Schatz. He arrived back home after a whirlwind first month in D.C. Schatz heading to the nation's capital aboard Air Force One just hours after the governor appointed him to fill Senator Daniel Inouye's seat. So how is he settling in? Joining us this morning with more is the senator himself, Brian Schatz. Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So you know that the president is going to be unveiling his gun control package, and it basically includes universal background checks and a ban on assault weapons. And a lot of insiders are already saying a total ban on assault weapons is not going to happen. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it's going to be very tough in the United States Congress. But it's important to remember that most Democrats and most Republicans believe in the Second Amendment. Certainly, I'm a Second Amendment Democrat. The right to keep and bear arms is right there in black and white in the United States Constitution. However, there ought to be reasonable safety requirements in order to own a gun, and especially a background check seems to be the most reasonable course of action, especially given that it's the kind of thing that might have prevented what happened a month ago. And so what we have to do is sort of have a rational conversation about, there are people talking about, you know, the federal government's going to come in and take away everyone's guns. That's just not true. But what we are saying is that automatically reloading assault weapons may not have a place in home protection and certainly have a very little of a place in hunting. And also that we ought to have some reasonable safety requirements to own something that is dangerous.
And there is this fear out there at the police station. There's a long line for people getting those permits. Let's talk about the debt ceiling, and it's probably going to be coming to a standstill or a standoff in about a month. What do you think is going to be happening, and can there be any agreement? Because you're seeing the partisan politics right now in D.C.
Right. You know, cooler heads have to prevail, but there are two issues that have to be separated here. First, we do have a spending and we have a revenue problem. So we have this deficit problem, which we ought to address in what they call regular order, which is sort of another way of saying sanely and civilly, and the way that the Congress has dealt with these issues for more than 200 years, through a budgeting process, through the wrangling of the normal negotiations. That's how this should happen. But the idea that we would take the full faith and credit of the United States of America and use it as a bargaining chip and basically take the country and the world economy to the brink of disaster as leverage against the United States president, it makes no sense. And the president has been clear, Nancy Pelosi has been clear, my majority leader Harry Reid has been clear. We're just not going to let it happen. We're pleased to work on compromises, and some of those compromises are not going to be things that we particularly like, but we're willing to work with the Republican Party on compromises that are in everyone's best interest. What we can't do is allow people to essentially take our country and all of our people to the economic brink and say, look, you know, if you don't give in to our demands, we're going to take the country through and into default. We just can't do it like that.
Well, we've certainly seen strong statements on both sides. You're going to be going back to D.C. for the inauguration.
Yes.
Not on Air Force One this time around. It'll be commercial. What are you expecting from the president's speech? And did you get those M&Ms aboard the Air Force One?
I did get the M&Ms, and people around me had, most of them were, I think, Secret Service, so they, you know, they weren't excited about the M&Ms.
It has a seal on it, right?
Oh yeah, it has a presidential seal. So for nieces and nephews and things, they gave me.
You didn't bring any here this morning?
I'm sorry. It's early for M&Ms, I think. But look, for the president's inauguration address, I think he's going to feel a little more free. Usually second-term presidents do, to articulate their vision. The one difference now is he doesn't have to worry about re-election. And so over the next, I think, 18 to 24 months is really his moment to make his mark. The second half of the second term tends to be more difficult in terms of domestic policy, and so he'll probably pivot to foreign policy. But I think this is where he's going to push his personal priorities. I think there will be something on climate change, and I certainly think there will be something on gun violence.
Well, Senator, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Sorry to cut you off, but we do have a special report right now that we need to toss to, and I believe that the president is speaking right now on gun control, so let's go to that.